Mm. Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, 'tis I, Michael A. Grimm, aka the Multivoice. I have many voices, but one opinion. And welcome for today's episode of Doctor Who-Athon. Since some of you guys enjoyed my William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, here was one thing I discovered just recently, and I knew I should have mentioned this back in my William Hartnell era review. Did you know that there was a book that was pretty much the idea and the inspiration to Doctor Who? Now, not many people don't even know if Doctor Who was based from this book or not, but there's a lot of similarities involved. And the book I'm going to be talking to you is a 1906 novel called Dr. Omega. Now, Dr. Omega was written by a French author who goes by the name of Arnold Galopin. Arnold Galopin. Now, he got his idea of Dr. Omega because he was a big fan of H.G. Wells's books like War of the World, The Time Traveler, and even Trip to the Moon. So he decided to write a book about a guy who goes by the name of Dr. Omega, who is an alien who travels through time and space with a bullet-shaped ship. It's about the size of a bullet, and it looks like some kind of a space pod, but it's bigger on the inside, and it travels through time and space. And if you look at the appearance of Dr. Omega, he looks remarkably like the William Hartnell, except he's kind of balding on the side, so there's one patch of hair on top along with his white hair on the side. And right now, there is an audiobook that you can get on a CD on Amazon or find it on Audible, along with an audio drama they made of Dr. Omega that the company from BBC decided to create. So, now, the creator who created Doctor Who, he didn't specifically says that he got the idea of Doctor Who from Dr. Omega because he was from Canada, and I know there was a lot of French people in Canada, and he never understood any French himself, so he isn't part of Canada where they speak French. And also, so it's a I don't know kind of thing. I mean, I don't know if he got the idea from Dr. Omega. But since this was and of course, if you're trying to look for the audiobook on YouTube, forget it. There is one Omega audiobook available on YouTube, but it's French because it's based on a French book. I mean, Omega is a French book written by a French author, so if any of you understood French, you'll probably be able to listen to that audiobook. If not, you're crap out of luck. But enough about the Dr. Omega. Let's get to the one that you all been waiting for, the Jon Pertwee error. Now, after Patrick Troughton was exiled from Gallifrey, so now he's stuck on Earth and got regenerated into our new Doctor, Jon Pertwee. Now, unlike William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, who avoid violence and don't get their hands dirty, Jon Pertwee, in the other hand, he studied something called Venusian Karate, which I would call it Venusian Kung Fu or Venusian martial arts. And of course, it was the first time that Doctor Who got into color with Jon Pertwee. And he crash landed on Earth, so his TARDIS never takes him anywhere else except on Earth. That's it. He is stuck on Earth. But he gets some help by by this one actor who plays this one character who did appear on the Patrick Troughton, but now he becomes a full character throughout the whole series, who is like the Commissioner Gordon to the Doctor's Batman. Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, played by Nicholas Country, who is a member of UNIT, Unified Intelligence Task Force. Now, of course, he's not the only one, because he also have other unit members who goes along with the Brigadier and the Doctor. Is, of course, John Bennett, played by John Livy, and Mike Yates, played by Richard Franklin. And after they found the Doctor in the hospital, he asks for a mirror and he sees himself. He's gray-haired, but he looks more distinguished, don't you think? And of course, he's the one who started saying this one word. Now, some of the creators didn't want to have some technobabble in the show, but there is one word that Jon Pertwee will always love saying as his Doctor. He always says, "I reversed the polarity of the neutron flow. So, I just reversed the polarity of the neutron flow in order to make this thing work." And he's kind of like a Doctor Who if James Bond makes the lip sound good. So he ain't not like Sean Connery James Bond that everybody idolize. And besides the Brigadier, the Doctor meets a unit scientist who becomes a good companion to the Doctor. Her name is Liz Shaw, played by Carolyn John. Now, she does tolerate the Brigadier because the Brigadier always acts so strict and arrogant, and sometimes he hardly listens to the Doctor. But Liz, on the other hand, she listens to the Doctor and even sees exactly that the Doctor was right on everything. And while he was trying to work on his TARDIS, he decided to find himself a car that pretty much becomes an electronic car that he can control with a remote control, who goes by the name of Betsy, the car. Well, at least it ain't his mother, the car. And then there was this one episode they did called Inferno, where when Inferno becomes a paradox universe that the Doctor gets himself into, where he starts to see a paradox universe where the rest of the world has gotten infected by some alien disease and the world is about ready to end over their stupidity, and the Brigadier becomes a warmongering jackass. So, thank goodness that Jon Pertwee went back to his own universe and tried to stop the scientists for letting the whole thing spread, because whatever could happen in the paradox universe can also happen here. So he puts a stop on it. And then it's time for the Doctor to meet his arch nemesis from now on. And the arch nemesis is none other than, which was the inspiration for the war chief, the Master, played by Roger Delgado. Now, I have to say, Roger Delgado, who plays the Master, he did a really outstanding job. I mean, even though he has a bit of the cliche evil villain type, going like, "I'm here to destroy the world, Doctor, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it." And then, in one of the episodes, Liz Shaw decided to leave UNIT. Now, there was no episode where she decided to say goodbye, Doctor, she's leaving, or anything like that. They just mentioned it that the Brigadier told the Doctor that he's all shook up because Liz Shaw decided to leave UNIT. And the Doctor was like, "Oh, I can find another companion while he was still tinkering in his TARDIS, still trying to get it to work. So he meets another companion who goes by the name of Jo Grant, played by Katie Manning. Now, unlike Liz Shaw, who is a scientist and, sides with the Doctor on everything and never argues with UNIT and such, Jo Grant, on the other hand, she is a member of UNIT, but she's also sort of a hippie. But Jo doesn't act all hippie-ish every single time, because, she doesn't go like, vegetables, rice, and peas, peace and love, man. I can't tell you how much I hate those kinds of hippies. They always bother the hell out of me. Oh, and here's something that really got my attention the most. There was an episode where the Master gets involved, and he starts creating problems in this episode called Mind of Evil. Season 8, episode 20. And involves the Chinese, and Jon Pertwee speaks Chinese to one of the ambassadors. I'm sorry, guys, but, here's one thing I've heard. Even though Doctor Who is very popular in all countries, and the only country that bans Doctor Who is China, because they don't like sci-fi shows involving a character who can travel through time and space. So I kind of find that very funny. Hearing the Doctor speaking Chinese to an ambassador and trying to keep the peace between Britain and China, while the Master is trying to create a war that would pretty much kill us billions of people. Hell, in the DC comics, they had their own version of Superman in China. And this is a rebirth issue. So what are the odds? And I read the comic, it's not bad. But anyway, this time in that episode, after the whole deal with the Master and of course with the help of Jo and everything, he finally got the TARDIS made. And here is what we find when they finally decided to celebrate the anniversary, and it's the 10th anniversary of Doctor Who, called The Three Doctors. And you have, William Hartnell had a short appearance in this episode, but of course, it's the reason why, because William Hartnell, he had a lot of health issues at the time. So he only showed up in the brief part, looking at Jon Pertwee and also Patrick Troughton, and says, "So those two are my replacements, a Dante and a clown." A Dante and a clown? But of course, it's really good to see Patrick Troughton back as the Doctor as well, and of course, but it focused more on the two Doctors, since William Hartnell is really ill. He only appear in a brief moment, and then just take off. But what they were dealing with is, of course, the most evil Time Lord of all, way worse than the Master, which is Omega. And yeah, the same Omega where my Doctor and tons of other Doctors from the multiverse have to deal with. Now, one thing I know about Omega is that he's a Time Lord who wants power, who had like a god complex. He wanted phenomenal cosmic powers that he doesn't even realize that it's killing him. That's why when he removed his helmet, he doesn't even have a face. He doesn't even have a head. Huh. They meet another character who goes by the name of Professor Cliff Jones that Joe starts falling in love with. So, and it's in the episode called The Green Death. In The Green Death, Joe meets Professor Cliff Jones, played by Stuart Bevan. And then at the end, that's when Cliff decided to marry Joe, and the Doctor left Joe without saying goodbye. It's kind of a jerk move for him to do that. And then on season 11, episode 1, the Time Warrior, we start introducing the most popular companion of all that everybody even loved. Even I became quite a fan of her, even though I can't tolerate her complain, but is, of course, Sarah Jane Smith, played by the lovely Elizabeth Sladen. Now, Elizabeth Sladen's performance as Sarah Jane Smith, she was a really great actress. She did an outstanding job being a reporter, although a lot of people kind of think that Sarah Jane Smith, she's a journalist, so it's kind of like she's like the Lois Lane. But not a love interest in a way, no. Oh, yes, that's when they got involved with the Sanctum Sanctorum. Not Sanctum Sanctorum. The Alpha Centauri, where it's supposed to be a council of peaceful aliens, and of course, the actress who played Thurina, played by Nina Thomas, I thought she was really cute. It's just too bad I haven't seen her in anything else except this episode. And then in the episode called The Planet of the Spiders, Mike Yates tried to redeem himself by trying to show Sarah Jane Smith what he discovered. And he was trying to contact UNIT, but he betrayed UNIT, so he knows that they're not going to believe him. While during their research, they discovered that there was a tomb full of guys who were worshipping a monk, a sort of a Shaolin monk. But some of the people from the group were worshipping giant spiders. Ugh. I hate spiders. I really do. Although the spiders in that episode was kind of cheesy. Not even scary at all. But here's a big twist of all. Turns out that the Shaolin monk is actually a mentor and teacher to the Doctor named Ka-An Po, played by George Carmack. And of course, Ka-An Po is going to regenerate because he's getting really old, so he regenerates to Ka-An Po 2, played by Kevin Leslie. And after the Doctor battled against the giant spiders and even prevented their invasion, Ka-An Po decided to get the Doctor out of exile and give him another chance to live, since the Doctor finally fixed the TARDIS. So, he helps the Doctor, and the Doctor regenerate to the most iconic actor who played the Doctor more than anybody in the world, Tom Baker. And that there, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the Jon Pertwee era. So stay tuned next week for the Tom Baker era, and boy, this one is a doozy because there's a whole lot more for me to talk about. I mean, it's a 2-page list, I gotta say, about Tom Baker. So, for those of you who enjoyed my review about the Jon Pertwee era of Doctor Who, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe, and since I'm done with my tea, oh, that's good stuff. I'm always a tea drinker. This is Michael A. Grimm, aka the Multi-Voice Reviewer, or the Multi-Voice Doctor, telling you all, stay tuned for the next episode.